Welcome to Vintage SF. I'm Richard Rempel. Today we're going to talk about Silent Running by Harlan Thompson, 1972. This is a novelization of the film Silent Running. This is a very thin book coming in at 116 pages. It also includes some black and white photos from the film itself. Silent Running's theatrical release was March 10th of 1972. It was directed by Douglas Trumbull, previously known for his special effects in the film 2001. It was written by Derek Washburn, Michael Cimino, and Stephen Bochco. You might recognize Michael Cimino and Derek Washburn as the scriptwriters for The Deer Hunter, a 1978 film which won 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. Cimino is also known for Heaven's Gate in 1980, a critical failure and legendary box office bomb. The other writer, Stephen Bochco, is well known for developing a number of TV series including Hill Street Blues, LA Law, Doogie Howser MD, and NYPD Blue. The film starred Bruce Dern, Cliff Potts, Ron Rifkin, and Jesse Vint. For context for the film, I think we have to go back to 1962. Silent Spring by Rachel Carson was published. On the cover of the first edition, it says, "The author of The Sea Around Us and the Edge of the Sea questions our attempt to control the natural world about us." The book documents research into the harmful effects of man-made pesticides on the natural world, including DDT. Silent Spring had a huge and immediate impact. There was pushback from the U.S. government and chemical industry giants like DuPont and Monsanto. But that only made the book more influential. Carson's book was one of the catalysts to prompt people to seriously question if progress was doing more harm than good. The environmental movement picked up momentum over the next decade, and by the end of the 1960s, the Environmental Defense Fund, founded as a direct response to Silent Spring, was actively filing lawsuits to end the use of the pesticide DDT. The first Earth Day was declared in 1970. Silent Spring had a monumental impact on the writing of this film. Let's talk a little bit about the story itself without any major spoilers and the novelization by Harlan Thompson. The forests of the earth have become extinct. As many specimens as possible have been preserved in a series of enormous greenhouse-like geodesic domes, serving as closed ecological systems, and they are attached to large cargo spaceships, forming part of a fleet stationed outside the orbit of Saturn. Freeman Lowell, played by Bruce Dern, is one of 4 crewmen, a resident botanist and ecologist, on the ship the Valley Forge. For over 8 years, he's been maintaining the plants of the 6 biodomes. The hope is that Earth will become hospitable again and they can reforest the planet. He spends most of his time in the domes, cultivating crops and attending to the animal life. The other 3 members of the crew are young. They like to goof around and race buggies down the long hallways of the Valley Forge. Lowell seems to tolerate the crew members who aren't very serious about the ecology of the domes. The crew of each ship in the fleet receive orders to jettison and destroy their domes and to return the freighters to commercial service. This would be the end of the dream to reforest Earth. This is something that Lowell cannot abide. Meanwhile, the other crew members are celebrating and preparing to destroy the domes. Can Lowell and his 3 drones save any of the biodomes? And at what cost? The film is rated general, and the novelization of the book is from Scholastic Books, so this would make you think that it's great for all ages. Much of it is, but there are certain dark themes within this movie. The writer of the novelization, Harlan Thompson, is not a science fiction writer. He's known for writing children's books about horses. Thompson does provide some details that give us a little bit more background to what is going on in the film. I don't know if these were in the previous script or not, but he certainly seems to just be following the rest of the script, almost like a paint-by-numbers picture. You probably could read this novel as fast as you could watch the film, which is only 89 minutes. This brings to mind the topic of novelizations. I don't find that Thompson's really adds anything to the film. I don't think it's necessary to purchase unless you find it interesting as a collectible. I've read a few novelizations of films and TV series, and I'd have to say the one that I admire the most is 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke. There we have some details that really enhance the film. Details that film director Stanley Kubrick left out of the film. We also have a change of venue for that film, from Saturn to Jupiter. Since Douglas Trumbull was in charge of the effects for 2001, he took those ideas for Saturn that had been developed and used them for this new film. Silent Running was a very low-budget film, even for that time. Trumbull had to be very creative with his sets. For the interior of the Valley Forge, Trumbull made a deal with the U.S. Navy to film inside the aircraft carrier USS Valley Forge, which was waiting to be decommissioned and scrapped at the Long Beach Naval Shipyard. The forts inside the domes were filmed inside a hangar at the Van Nuys Airport, and many scenes with the stars and domes were done in camera, that is, using projected footage in the live scene rather than added afterward during processing. The three robotic drones, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, are not mechanical at all but are actors in costume. Mark Persons, Cheryl Sparks, Stephen Brown, and Larry Weisenhunt are all double amputees. A few years later, George Lucas used the drones from Silent Running as an example of what he wanted R2-D2 to look like. The exterior shots of Valley Forge and the other ships used a 25-foot model built from wood, metal, and plastic, with much of the mechanical detailing coming from literally hundreds of model kits of World War II airplanes and tanks. If you're interested in learning more about the film itself, I have a book for you. BFI Film Classics, Silent Running by Mark Kermode, 2014. Mark Kermode, writing on his favorite science fiction film of all time, traces Trumbull's sentimental masterpiece, from its roots in the counterculture of the 60s to its enduring appeal as a cult classic in the 21st century. Drawing on a new interview from Trumbull, Kermode examines both the technical and thematic elements of this uniquely moving space adventure, which continues to be mirrored and imitated by filmmakers today. This special edition features original cover art by Ollie Moss. BFI is the British Film Institute, and this is an 88-page book, including illustrations. Silent Running was a bit of a bomb at the box office when it first came out, but it has become a cult film. The shoestring special effects are a delight to see, including the practical ones of Huey, Dewey, and Louie. These might be some of the first robots in films that are non-humanoid looking and somewhat realistic. Besides the special effects and the practical effects, there's Bruce Dern himself. He's a wonderful character actor and can play somebody on the edge like no one else. You can see his dismay and disgust over the orders and what his fellow crew members are preparing to do. We watch as he slowly becomes unhinged. This is also one of the very first films to deal with climate change and our effect on our planet. Now there are some rather large plot holes here, plot holes at least of science. One of the reveals in the film is a bit difficult to believe, at least difficult to think that they wouldn't realize this earlier. That said, Bruce Dern gives an amazing performance here. I was along for the ride the whole way. I found it poignant and surprisingly moving. So if you're in the mood for an old science fiction film with some cultural relevance, this one might be for you. I'd love to hear about your experiences with this film. Let me know in the comments below. I'd also like to hear if there's novelizations of films or TV series that you think are especially well done. Until next time, keep reading and keep watching.